Hey YouTube, this is Jeremy Yahoo Weeps. Just thinking, okay, the Creator, who people call God, but his name is actually Yahweh, at least that's how I pronounce it. I know the pronunciation is a little bit up in the air. Some people pronounce it Yahuwah, some people pronounce it Yehovah, some people pronounce it Yehovah. I pronounce it Yahweh, that's my best understanding. You know, I figure someday he'll let us know what his name really is, the correct pronunciation. I don't think he's terribly concerned about it now, as long as we're trying and we know that his name actually means the self-existent one. He exists, the one who exists independent of anybody and everything else. So, anyways, the Creator. The Creator. People say that he is love. Okay, I believe he is. They say he's love. Then I know that some people say that he is love and that you have to choose Jesus, whose name actually, at my best understanding, his name is Yeshua, shortened to Yeshua, but it means Yahweh is rescue. Yahweh is salvation. That's what his name means, okay? But they say you have to choose Jesus, and if you don't choose Jesus, you're going to go to hell, which they say is a place of eternal torment and torture. And you suffer for all eternity in hell. Now, thinking about this, if you think it through, okay, you start with the Creator, Yahweh. And of course, you know, some people say that Yahweh and Yeshua and the Ruach HaKodesh, a separate breath or essence or character or spirit, they say it's a being and they're three. Anyways, my understanding is Yeshua was born from Yosef and Miriam, making him the Mashiach, and Yahweh is his Elohim, his quote-unquote God, because when he says my God and your God, he's talking about Yahweh. Yahweh is his God. So, and then the Ruach HaKodesh is really just breath or wind or essence or spirit. Sometimes it's referring to Yahweh, him or herself. Sometimes it's referring to Yahweh's power or essence or character. So, going on, they say that if you don't accept Jesus, you'll go to hell and suffer for all eternity. Now think about this. Yahweh is all powerful, right? And he's all knowing, he's all loving, he's all good, and he knows everything. He's all powerful and he knows everything. So if he makes somebody and he knows what they're going to do throughout their life, would he make someone knowing that they're going to suffer for all eternity? And would that be loving? Could you say that was a loving thing to do? Like if you have children and one of your children, you knew that if they didn't do this certain thing, they were going to suffer for all eternity. Would that make any sense? Would you allow your children to do that? Actually, a lot of the parents that I know of would do that for their children. They would rather do it than have their children have to do it. So if Yahweh's loving, and if he's more loving than a human parent, I don't know. Anyways, so that's if he knows everything, and he knows if he set things up in advance. He set up the universe the way it is. He set up reality the way it is. When he planted the tree, the tree of the experience knowledge of function and dysfunction, people call the tree of good and evil. But my understanding is that it's the tree of the experience knowledge that you gain through experience of function and dysfunction. Because we're made in the image of Yahweh, correct? Well, I believe I am. Anyways, we're made in the image of Yahweh, so our function is to be reflecting the image of Yahweh. If we're dysfunctioning, if we're malfunctioning, we're not reflecting his image. We're not showing goodness and kindness and love and caring and character and doing right to each other. That's his ultimate character. Now, of course, his character includes like all of history, and what we see in the world around us is attributed to him because he's ultimately responsible for everything, because he's all powerful. He's the Almighty. You know, there's nobody higher. He's the all powerful. So he's responsible for everything. Any situation that you find yourself in, this is another thing I was going to get back to, but any situation you find yourself in where you're making choices, if say you're choosing to do wrong, well, who's the one who made the situation for you to have those choices? Who's the one that gave you the air to breathe so that it would go to your brain? And who's the one who made your brain? Who's the one that gives you the ability to think? Who's the one who made the people that you're surrounded with, that you interact with, to be able to make decisions about whether good or evil? He's created everything that is, and he's orchestrated the whole thing. So who's ultimately responsible? Unless you're going to say, no, people have more power, which I don't know exactly how you're going to work that one out, but if you want to, I guess you can. So anyways, so he's orchestrated everything, and he's created everything, and he knew before time began. I mean, he's outside of time, but he knew before time began when you were going to be born, what gender you were going to be, your personality, all of your history, everything in your life, every single detail in your life. He knew it before time began. Okay? If he knows all of this stuff before time begins, and he knows who's going to accept Jesus, or Yeshua as I think his name is properly, who is going to accept Yeshua, then the people that aren't, he knows ahead of time, and he says, no, I'm going to have those people suffer for all eternity. Now you can say, I think the Arminian view is that people have free will, and Yahweh will respect their free will. But that's problematic, because say if you have a child, and your child's ball goes into the street, and you tell your child, wait, don't go into the street, there's a car coming, and your child heads to the street, are you going to respect their free will and say, well, I told you, but I'm respecting your free will, so if you get hit by the car, I'm letting it happen because I love you? No, 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 no. Or are you going to grab your child and say, you may have free will, but I'm an authority, and what I say goes, and I'm making sure that you're going to be okay, and I'm not letting you get hit by the car? So, I don't think the Almighty is actually malevolent. I don't think he's Arminian, because I don't think he goes, I'm giving you free will, so if you choose to suffer for all eternity by not accepting my son, then I'm going to respect your wishes and do that. So basically, you're the one in the position of authority. You have authority over the Almighty, and you say what happens with you. Or Calvinism, which has the Almighty knowing ahead of time and determining who's going to go to eternal torment or not. So if he's determining who's going to go into eternal torment, then he's actually evil. But then there's scripture that says that he wants to save everyone. So if he wants to save everyone but chooses not to, then it makes him schizophrenic. So, I'm trying to remember my train of thought. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to claim that the Almighty is all-knowing and all-powerful, if you're going to claim that he's all-loving, then he can't eternally torture someone. I mean, or, I guess if you want to give me examples of people who you know should be eternally tortured, just give me a name. Anybody. And, I mean, you have to say, I think that this person should be tortured for more than 1 billion years. Just unending torture. On and on and on, and it never ends. Never ends. Now, happily, this is not just my thoughts about this stuff. There's actually scripture that I can go to that shows me that I'm correct. Like the four words that are translated as hell in Scripture. One of them is Gehenna, which really means Gehinnom, or the Valley of Hinnom, and it's Jerusalem's garbage dump, which is actually a nice park today, so going to hell would be a walk in the park. Then there's Sheol and Hades, which actually mean the grave. And then there's Tartarus, which is a holding place for fallen angelic messengers and has nothing to do with humanity. So the three places that they use for hell are, two of them mean the grave, and the other one is a garbage dump, where they would burn trash and burn awful dead criminals back in the day, like 2,000 years ago. So, if you think somebody's going to go to hell, they'd have to time travel into the past and go to Jerusalem. So wherever they live in the world, they'd have to make that trek over to Jerusalem. But if they went there today, it would just end up being a park. They'll walk in the park. So, and then there's the lake of fire, which is actually the lake of purification, because we go through fires now. We go through fire, the fire of trial and testing, and that's to purify us. Hold on, let me get my dog. Come here, puppy. Good puppy, come here. Ugh, there you go. Okay, sorry about that. Where was I? Oh yeah, lake of fire, trials and testing, purifying. That's what's going on. That's why we're suffering. That's why we're going through the stuff we're going through. I'm sorry if you are. It's not fun. Sorry. Very sorry. It's not fun. But if you look at it, it comes down to a matter of trust in the Creator and if He's really good or not. Because if He's really good, then there's going to be a reason for the suffering and the difficulty. And if He's not really good, if He's just malevolent like this hell god, then I don't know, drown your sorrows because all is lost. Or if there's no Almighty and everything is just futility and there's no point, then you're suffering. I mean, the best thing you can possibly do is get out of this life because there's no point. But I don't advise that because this life is not all there is. So, and it's going to be worth it. What everybody is going through right now, I do believe, there's a reason and a purpose. It's not all in vain. It's going to be worth it. I highly advise doing right. Doing right, because that'll speed the process up to where you're not having to go through as much pain and difficulty, and it won't be as long lasting. If you're doing right now, even if you're having to suffer while this is going on, because you're going to have to get to the place where you're purified. So if you go along with the process now, you'll help speed it up. But it's going to happen. Everybody's going to get purified. Everybody. And it's not always going to be the most fun, enjoyable experience, but it's going to be worth it in the end. But if you go along with the process now and you do right by yourself and others and the Creator, highly advise it. Highly advise it. Because you're just, if you violate His instructions and you go against Him and you do wrong by others for your own personal gain, you're just making things worse for yourself. Your suffering is going to be worse. Seriously. So anyways, yeah, that's my understanding on the whole hell thing. Just ridiculous, evil. I mean, if you claim that eternal torment is true, then whatever deity you worship is evil, malevolent, and evil. There's purification, and that isn't always the most pleasant for the people that are being purified now. That can testify to that. But that's all there is. There's judgment, and that judgment is the Hebrew concept of judgment, which is to do what needs to be done to bring a good and pleasant and upright life to people, to everybody, to make things work right. So what needs to happen? But the process we're in now is growth, learning and growth. This whole universe is like well, really, it's kind of like an incubator. It's almost like a womb, like Yahweh's womb, where He's growing His children, because we're going to get born after this life. This life will end, we'll go to sleep for a while, and then we'll come alive again. And that's when we'll really be alive, like really, really be alive. But yeah, this life is like a growth period, okay? Growth. That's what this whole existence is all about, I believe. It's learning and growth. And it's learning about each other and learning about our Creator. That's what it's really ultimately about. All the facts, all the details, all of history, it's all learning about the Creator. Even all the evil, it's learning about the Creator. That's the evil, that's the stuff that, it's contrast. That's the stuff He hates, and we contrast that with His goodness, and it'll make His goodness shine even brighter. Yeah, but I don't know. I'm trying to remember if there was anything else. Yeah, I don't think it's possible that somebody could claim that the Creator is all good, all powerful, all loving, and that there's eternal torment for people after this life. It's not possible. You can't do it. You can't claim that. It's not possible. I mean, you can if you want, but then you might as well claim that like 2 + 2 = 5, and that squares are actually circles, and that the sky is green, stuff like that, because it's just nonsense. Or big turtle's refrigerator orange. And that's what they do. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So anyways, that's my whole point, is that it's just nonsensical. I mean, if you claim that He's all-powerful, all-good, all-knowing, all-loving, and that there's eternal torment, you just can't do it. I'm sorry. Logically, it just does not work. It's impossible. 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 Okay. Thank you for watching, and if you have any comments, feel free. I love learning, and I don't think that I'm right on everything. Shalom, and I hope you're having a good day, life, evening, morning, breakfast, dinner, all of it. Thanks. Shalom. Sayonara. Arrivederci. Guadalajara. Bye.